I will tell you my story, and I know that it is a very strange story. Maybe no one will believe it, but it happened to me and is still happening, and there is no logical explanation for all this. The story began when I was 8 years old, and I was in a car accident with my mother and father. The car overturned. My father died that day, and I stayed in intensive care in a coma more than a month between life and death. But I did not die despite the doctors expecting me to die at that time. When I started to recover and came out of the hospital, I always saw white shadows behind people. I used to wonder and tell my mother, and she told me that maybe because of the accident affected my eyesight, and we went to an ophthalmologist and he confirmed that my eyesight is intact and there is nothing wrong with it. Then the matter developed with me for other things. I used to dream that I met people I did not know, and we were talking and telling me about some things when I woke up and found myself remembering them well, and among them was the father of our neighbor who lived in the house next door. I dreamed of his father telling me to tell him that he put the key under the jasmine tree in a box, and I did not care. But 3 days later, I learned that he had died. The man, a week ago, they were out of the country, and I knew the news when they returned. At that time, I was very curious about what was happening to me and what is this key under the tree, but I did not tell him anything. At that time, I was 12 years old. My mother married at that time and gave birth to 2 twin sisters. I was looking at the eyes of one of my sisters, and I do not know. An inner feeling tells me that she will die. I did not tell my mother either, nor her husband. And indeed, my sister died as I was feeling after she had diarrhea and severe reflux. At that time, I felt sad and regretful and wished that I had told my mother. I might have saved her from death. And I felt guilt, and that I was the reason for my sister's death. And I isolated myself from everyone. And I reached the age of 16 years old, and I was almost alone. I had very few friends. I felt like I was out of my body. I don't know how. But I felt like I was going in a good image to distant places and countries. I visited many countries and very many places. I thought I was delusional, but I was seeing. When I wake up, I look for those places that I visited and find them as they are and as I saw them. I do not know how this happens and why, but I feel that I slept and went to distant places. At the time, I told my mother about it. She told me that I was imagining and not talking about the matter with her husband. She was afraid that her husband would put me in a mental institution if I told him about the matter. He hated my isolation, and I feel that he is afraid for his daughter from me. And I do not know how he thinks. She is also my sister, but the matter continued with me and did not stop, and I did not talk to anyone again, but it developed very strongly. I started dreaming about my stepfather doing strange and immoral things. I don't know why I was seeing him like that. I didn't tell my mother about it, but I started watching him, and I knew that he really does horrible things. Then I told my mother, and after I made sure, I separated from him, and we lived together. And then I started seeing some people I knew doing strange and terrifying things, and I was telling them what they did until everyone started moving away from me, little by little, afraid. My mother returned to her husband after he swore that he would not do what he was doing, but he refused to let me live with him in the same house. So I lived alone. I lived and completed my studies, and my mother took care of me and did not leave me. But I live in an apartment alone. I was not sad because I felt comfortable living alone, and I went to a sheikh and told him what was happening to me. He told me that the spirits meet with whoever they want and do what they want. It has no power over them at the time of sleep. But it is my time to read some Quranic verses before bed, and I am committed to my daily routine, and strange things still happen until today. And I do not understand why I say that it is astral projection, but I do not know.